Hello there, this is my Tuesday video which has sort of evolved into me talking about something or other. Like it could be favourite directors, or last week was Article 13. This week it's about directors again. You'll be happy to know it's not about politics in any way. It's about directors who never made my top, well, it's been my top 10 but it turned out the top 25, 30 because I had no self-control. But these are the directors who are slightly below that level. It's not like they're below that level in my estimations. They're not the top level for me, like the film directors who I'm just like smitten with. But I still adore these directors. So it's like there's these directors who I still think are wonderful, and whose films I buy all the time, and whose films I watch all the time. And so it's almost like the there was honourable mentions part 1 in the first video, and now there's honourable mentions part 2 is almost what this is. So these are directors I find a lot in, whose films I'll do a lot of videos on probably. They never made the cut, the top ones, but they could have if I was in a different mood. Because quite a few of the top ones, some of the runners up could have come down to this list, and some of these come up to that list. It's that kind of level. Because I mean, my top 50 directors tend to be pretty solid, they just move around a lot. You know, so I hope you enjoy this. This is it's a long-winded explanation for these are cool directors who I really like. The first one is Jane Campion. The piano is amazing. It's been underrated recently. I think it's because it was thought it was a great film, and then it was just, yeah, it's a great film, and then people seem to forget about it. And it's now kind of at the point where I don't think it's as respected as it should be. Because it's a really beautiful film. I saw it when it came out in the cinema. It's an amazing atmosphere to it, which is like, okay, that's instead of a great director, that's one film itself. The film she made afterwards, Portrait of a Lady, I really like. It's, yeah, I mean, it's a flawed film, but it's really fascinating the way the society works in this film, and the way that she shoots the past. It's not a kind of guarded much ivory thing. It's a much more alive, people making mistakes, people screwing up. It's like a pathology of a person who you could relate to in the modern world in the past. But you see a past that's its own weird rules, and how this person's twisted by them, and how they darken to their own soul, because it allows them to be twisted by certain things. So it's fascinating. It's a really fascinating film. I think it's really underrated. I think people are just uncomfortable with it. So it's one of those films I'm going to watch again, hopefully do a video on, because I really like Portrait of a Lady. I liked Holy Smoke as well. I haven't seen Bright Star. And the cut was good. There's a lot of really good, interesting films she's made, and it's just like, I haven't seen Top of the Lake yet though. It's one of those ones where any TV show, I get around to them. Like those kind of shows, like I get around to eventually. I just need to wait for the right time before I watch them, because I'm very moody when it comes to TV shows. But a lot of stuff I've seen of hers is great, and it's a very underrated director now. She's like, was thought of as great then, it was like, nah, we don't like these follow-up films. And a lot of the follow-up films were really good, it was just like, they weren't what was expected of her. Which to me makes her a more interesting director, because she's not remaking a piano. She's doing her own thing, and it's like, well, it's not for you, but for me it's really terrific. So Jane Campion is fascinating. I think she's very underrated. I'll go with another woman director next, is Catherine Bigelow. It's another director I've really liked for a long time. Again, she came out at the same time as Campion, but from America. So she started out with, there was a Loveless, which I haven't seen, then it was Near Dark, which was terrific. Blue Steel, which is okay. I don't love Blue Steel. It's like, it's one of those films I thought was kind of obvious. You know, I didn't think it was, I need to watch it again though, but when I saw it I didn't think it was as strong as the rest of the stuff I'd seen up to then, or seen in the future. I mean, Near Dark was so good, and the Blue Steel just felt like it was kind of pedestrian in comparison. Then there was Point Break, which is wonderful. I mean, it's over the top, but it's beautifully made, and it's still a film you can compulsively watch. Yeah, it's a bit campy, but it's still an energetic, genuine film. It means what it says, even though it's self-awareness to it. It's just a wonderful mix of a film. I think it's very underrated actually. I mean, it's a beautifully underrated film, even though it's very famous at the same time. But it's famous for one reason, and I think it's terrific in a different reason. So it's a really weird film for that. Strange Days is wonderful. Strange Days was underrated because they expected something more techy. I think this is all about voyeurism and guilt and not letting go, and a lot of the kind of serious side of virtual reality and how we use images to kind of not move on. So it was all about the downside of cinema and downside of imagery. And I think that made some people uncomfortable, and a lot of people just weren't interested in that subject. So it didn't do very well, but I thought it was terrific. In her off time before she had a comeback, she had an episode of Homicide. She had a two-parter to end season 6, which was brilliant. It tied off a lot of story threads of the drug wars, and it was 2 hours of just great filmmaking. And the final confrontation was in a box in basically one small room between 3 characters was just stunning. It was just so well done. And she was trying to get someone to confess to something. It was a very ambiguous situation. It's really well directed and well acted. Again, it's not really well known about she did this, because that's kind of where she would go. But I think the Homicide episodes, those two-part Homicide episodes, was a kind of, it was the first time she was it was kind of at the entry point where she went next. You know, I haven't seen Weight of Water. It's a hard one to hold off, but K-19 is a film I really like. It's again, it's underrated. It didn't do too well when it was released. People complained about Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson's accents. I didn't care. I just thought it was a well-made submarine film with an interesting subject, which was about the Russians. It was just well done, and it was like, but it was like, oh, this is not a shoot 'em up. This is just basically it's in a limited location, but military people in a military location. Getting extended from what she did with Homicide and move forward to this and move on to the other films. It seemed like it was a kind of point where it was turned into something else, and that was a kind of important film to move to what came next. What came next was Hurt Locker, Hurt Locker's terrific. Hurt Locker's really good. It is in some ways it's a suspense movie going from bomb to bomb, but it's a psychological study of the Jeremy Renner character who's addicted to this life of diffusing bombs. He needs the buzz of doing this. I mean, it's sort of interesting compared to the guy who opened the firm, which is another guy in the buzz, but at least this has been done to a more socially acceptable thing. He's trying to save lives rather than end them, which is good. So he's taken his pathology into a more optimistic direction. But it's a terrific study and it's a terrific film. Zero Dark 30 had got some mixed reviews because it was about hunting down Bin Laden, and some people thought it was like propaganda for the Americans. I don't think it was. I think it was about the effect of 9/11 and the kind of the narrow focus people had, need to get Bin Laden, and how that expanded and caused lots of issues. And they end up getting it in the film, but it shows how it's so focused in this. The American psychology is so focused on this one bit of revenge. It's like, what's the cost of that? It doesn't state that though. It's like you're meant to imply that this is a pathology of revenge from a whole nation almost, even though it's through one character. And is this healthy? Is this really healthy, or is it good, or is it bad? Make up your own mind about it. It's like one of those situations. So it's a wonderful film. I haven't seen a new one about the riots. For some reason, I think I've been kind of avoiding it because I know it's a stressful film, and it's like I'm going to get to it. Just I haven't quite got to it yet. I need to steel myself to watch it because I know it's meant to be really intense. So that's another director who I really like. Next to the two Andersons, there's P.T. Anderson and there's Wes Anderson. There's been more said about these directors, so I won't really go on about them much because I'm going to do videos on both of them. So I'm not going to stretch it out and start going through the films or anything. If you've watched this, you probably know what the films are. They're all terrific. I mean, the funny thing is, P.T. Anderson, his first film I saw of his was Boogie Nights, is probably my least favourite of his films. People still love that one, and I just don't get it. It's like, it's kind of obvious. And the film he did before that, Hard Date, was much more lifelike, and what he did afterwards was much more lifelike. This one just felt like I knew what people were going to say before they said it. But that's the only one I thought, his films. After that, he did some great stuff. Wes Anderson does his own thing. Some things are better than others. I mean, the worst one was Dealing Limited. Then he followed it up with Fantastic Mr. Fox, I thought one of his best films. And he's quality-wise, he follows his own nose. So some are going to be better than others, but there's an overall. He's sort of like Cronenberg in a way that not one film stands out. It's a career worth of films, and there's some real peaks. There's a few valleys, but there's a consistency to his films that you're probably going to think of him as a director over a series of films rather than one film. He's that kind of director, really. Okay, now we go to Asia. Takashi Miike. He's another one whose filmography goes a bit weird. I'm going to do one of his films later on this week. One of his not so good films. But he's always worth watching. I mean, if he directed, I'll watch it, I'll give it a shot. Even if it's badly received, I'll still give it a shot, because I know that his good stuff is great and his bad stuff is usually fascinating. And his stuff when he's been left on his own and he just goes weird is a one of a kind thing that's like, well, yeah, it might go off sometimes, but a director this fascinating, you just have to keep on seeing what he's putting out. He's just one of those directors who's always interesting. So, and there's so many there's too numerous films to actually talk about individually. There's a lot, there's lots of stuff there that are worth seeing, so give his stuff a shot, he's really good. Okay, the next one's sort of the same way, which is Terry Gilliam. Terry Gilliam has done some good stuff and he's done some terrible stuff. I mean, the worst film he's made is The Brothers Grimm. That's a bloody awful film, that's just terrible. And then he's done some really good stuff like Brazil and Time Bandits and Baron Munchausen. I mean, I love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. There's tons of really good stuff. I think recently he's come off the boil a little bit. We'll see what he's like with Don Quixote, but I mean, a lot of his recent stuff seems a bit self-indulgent. The last one he did, the one he did with Heath Ledger's final film, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, had lots of great stuff in it, and then there was also a lot of self-indulgent stuff in it. It's like, you just felt like we wish you'd pared it down, but get rid of some of the self-indulgent things and lost like 20 minutes out of it, it would have been really good. It's just like, he's a director with a lot of bloat, and he used to be able to control it a lot more, and now it seems to be the bloat becomes the thing. But he's always still worth watching because the films are always interesting. So even though I don't think he's as good as he used to be, there's always hope that it'll all come together again. Which is the case with the next director, is Paul Schrader. Paul Schrader, who has had a very wayward career. A lot of these directors have wayward careers that I'm talking about. They're not always the most critically acclaimed. They have like peaks and valleys critically, but they're always interesting. You're always like, what they're up to next. That's what really fascinates me about a lot of directors' careers. They're just, some of them are, yeah, they're inconsistent, but when they really hit, it hits so high that it makes up for the other stuff. So yeah, I mean, Paul Schrader, I mean, his last film, First Reformed, is brilliant. He's made a couple of brilliant films throughout the years. I mean, he made Blue Collar, he's made Mishima, Light Sleeper. Those are 3 films I adore. A lot of his other films like American Gigolo, Cat People, Dominion, Autofocus, a lot of really good films. I mean, Affliction's really good. I mean, he's done a lot of good films, a lot of terrific films. He's done some other weirder films, but a lot of careers have that kind of up and down thing. But he's always doing something that interests him. He's always trying something new. So even if he's not consistent, he's always fast. Again, he's a director you always want to see what's he doing now, because there's a good chance it's going to be interesting. He did one before First Reformed. There was Dog Eat Dog, which is very underrated. I mean, it got some bad reviews. It was based on a really good book, which the film is not very faithful to, but it's a weird energy of its own that's very interesting to watch. People say he's trying to do Tarantino, but he's not. He's doing his other weird little thing that's different from the norm. But I don't guarantee you'll like this film if you've seen this video. Dog Eat Dog's a weird film. You may hate it. I really liked it. Okay, next is another weird director, Paul Verhoeven. again, he's done such great stuff, and he's done a couple of turds, but they're always his. You always recognise them as his. I mean, no one else can make Showgirls but Paul Verhoeven. No one else can make Robocop but Paul Verhoeven made it. I mean, some of his early Dutch films are terrific. I mean, Soldier of Orange is great. The Fourth Man, Spetters, what's the other one? Turkish Delight. There's tons of early stuff that's really good. Flesh and Blood is a kind of in-between film between Dutch and Hollywood films, and it's really fascinating. I mean, he did Starship Troopers. Even his later stuff, he went back to Europe with Black Book and Elle, which are both terrific films. I mean, he's been consistently interesting. I think towards the end of his Hollywood career, he got a bit bored with the conventions of Hollywood films, and he started to really parody it. But, because I mean, he's always had a bit of parody in his Hollywood films. I mean, if you look at Basic Instinct, it's a joke about Michael Douglas being an idiot in the film, because he misses every clue. It's always almost a joke about the male protagonist who's macho and who thinks he can do everything. I mean, there's always a parody in his Hollywood films. There's a sense of humour in all his film. There's something fascinating about him. Always. I've even read his book about Jesus. I mean, who else would have read a book about Jesus apart from Paul Verhoeven? And I would read it, of course, because it's a really good book. It's worth reading. I really recommend it. Read the book. Okay. Next is Richard Lester. Richard Lester was. I mentioned him in one of my earlier videos about people who influenced me, so I've covered a lot about him already. Yeah, I've just seen a lot of his films growing up and didn't know it was the same director doing them. I still enjoy watching his films. I'll be doing some of them next year as individual reviews. His stuff's fascinating. It's a very anarchic director who's working within the system. And that's really interesting, seeing a director who can work within a system and then do his own thing, and sometimes it's a bit compromised, other times it really delivers. But he's working within an industry and he's doing his own thing. So sometimes he goes a bit wayward, but all of his wayward stuff's fascinating. I mean, like, A Bed Sitting Room is beautiful. It's really grungy looking, but it's beautiful in its own way. The Musketeer films are one of the great examples of being in the entertainment world and actually doing something really brilliant. You know, Petullia's amazing. The Beatles films are terrific. I mean, he did some really good stuff throughout his career. And then he stopped at a certain point, like in the 80s. I think there was a problem getting financed, and then made a film and Roy Kinnear died in it, and I got put him off making films. But there's also a thing he had his career at that point as well. I think the film was going in a different direction from where his influences were. I think that was also part of it. But there's some great films there to watch. I mean, just see his films. They're great. They're terrific. They're always worth a look. Even the ones that aren't as good, there's always something interesting going on there. Right. Okay. Next, we're going to George Miller. George Miller is. I'm looking at his list, but I'm not doing it in order I wrote them down. By the way, I'm just looking to see who would link better. So George Miller, director of Mad Max and Babe and Happy Feet. A weird collection of films. He also did Lorenzo's Oil, which is a really underrated medical drama. He did Witches of Eastwick, which is a bizarre comedy of the Battle of the Sexes. Really over the top, it's worth a look, it's really good fun. But even though he's done Lorenzo's Oil, which is very underrated and very low key, he's really good when he's allowed his imagination to let loose. I mean, in the Mad Max films, especially Road Warrior and Fury Road, where his imagination just goes mental. Babe Pig in the City is an insane children's film. It's still one of the best children's films, but it'll probably scare the hell out of them. It's like the best children's films that's trying to scare the kids. The first Baby didn't direct, but he produced it. It's also a terrific film. The Happy Feet film are more entertaining than great, but they're just so much fun to watch. They're just enjoyable. Just enjoyable to watch. They're just like entertainment done right. So he's done some terrific stuff, and he really peaks it's out of this world. But even when he's not peaking, it's still really good. It's still really worth watching. So he's a director who I really like because he's in the entertainment industry. He's not trying to be arty, but he's genuine about his films. these are genuine films he wants to make. He tries to make the films he wants to make and tries to be true to his instincts. And the one time he did a compromise film, which is Beastwick, it still turned out pretty damn good. So he's a fascinating director. He's really worth seeing. And also it's quite like his own movie, Extract, where John Lithgow's a guy in the plane scene, the Gremlin. It's really worth seeing too. So George Miller's terrific. Go watch his film. You'll have a great time. They're not trying to be the highest of art. They're trying to be entertaining, and they're wonderful. Okay, next, Tim Burton. Tim Burton is almost like a career in two parts. Tim Burton pre-Planet of the Apes and Tim Burton post-Planet of the Apes. Because pre-Planet of the Apes and Sleepy Hollow was kind of in the middle ground. He made these really weird, eccentric films. They wondered how the hell they get made. I mean, his biggest hit was the Batman films, but even they were very weird versions of Batman. And you had stuff like Ed Wood, Edward Scissorhands, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice. Just really strange films. Mars Attacks was insane. Night Before Christmas. All this stuff up to like Sleepy Hollow was all terrific. All very unique, very interesting. Then Sleepy Hollow kind of was in the middle ground. There's lots of really good stuff there, but it's a bit more conventional. There's not the same kind of weirdness to it. Then Planet of the Apes happened, everyone hated it, and since then he's almost been like a shell of Tim Burton. He's not... I mean, I'm really including him for those early films because they're so good. The later films, there's some good stuff. There's Sweeney Todd, I really enjoy. I'm one of the people who like Dark Shadows, unapologetically. It's eccentric, it's weird, it's self-indulgent, but I like it. I have no shame, I don't care. I really like it. I even don't mind the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie. Again, it's way too long and it's inconsistent visually, but there's still nice things in there. You know, even like some of his other films have nice moments. I liked his last one, Miss Peregrine. I kind of liked that one. It was odd, but there was some nice elements to it. But it just never really came together totally, but it was still lots of nice bits to it. So even now it's frustrating to watch him because there's still good bits to Tim Burton films. It's just he needs writers who are more on his wavelength. I mean, if you look at his early films, he was with writers who are a bit weirder, and I think he kind of needs that. I think he's now under the impression he needs more conventional writers to straighten him out. I think what he really needs is weird writers who will make him go even further. But the good stuff's so good that it makes up for the later part of the career, which is not as good. So I don't really believe in, oh, let's demerit someone for their bad films. I believe in, what's the best stuff? That's what's interesting to me. The bad stuff, people make bad stuff. And if at a certain point there's a cut off where a director isn't as good as he used to be, we just accept it, that's it. But then celebrate the really good part of the career. And the other stuff will take care of itself. Okay, I've got a few more. Guillermo del Toro. He's terrific. He's in his own world. He does like fantasy stuff which looks at fascism and various forms of fascism. He seems to be obsessed with fascism and fantasy. The two Fs. He does some wonderful films. Shape of Water was terrific. He won an Oscar for a weird monster movie. That's bizarre. He did the one great Blade film. You've got to give him credit for that. Blade 2 is amazing. Really schlocky but amazing. His Hellboy films are the same, schlocky but amazing. Pan's Labyrinth is terrific. Pacific Rim's terrific. I feel I'm just listening now, but I mean, Kronos has this brilliant, weird atmosphere. Same with Devil's Backbone. Even Mimic, which is this compromised studio film, has lots of wonderful moments in it. I mean, he's a director of moments as well as his better films have like great threads throughout. His weaker films are full of little moments that are terrific. They're almost like sequences making up a film. But it's just the atmosphere of his films, and even though he overstates the outside their fantasy elements sometimes, he kind of goes over the top of that sometimes. Crimson Peak is an example where he's a director overstating things, but it's still a wonderful film. It should have been 20 minutes shorter, but he's a terrific director, and he goes his own way. So either you like him or you hate him, but he's going to make his films his way and tough, you know. That's what I like about him. Plus, he's drawn a lot of similar things to me. So, I'm just attached to a lot of his films. So, he's in that with Tim Burton thing where, yeah, the flaws are obvious, but the good stuff is really good. So, who cares? Just enjoy it. Right, about two more. These are two of the British directors who should be better known than they are. The first one is Peter Watkins. He made Culloden, The War Games. I'm now going blank. Edward Monk. Punishment Park. Lots of great films. They did one about a rock singer whose name I have it and I cannot remember its name, and I'm trying to look and see if I can see it on my collection. I can't see it just now, so it's probably over there. Oh well. Wait a minute. Privilege. Sorry about that. I went blank. I went completely blank. Yeah. These are brilliant films. These are underseen. I mean, The War Games was banned for the BBC because it looked at the war, nuclear war, and what actually happened, and how there's no way to survive it. It was just too bleak for BBC. They said nope. They looked at Culloden, the Battle of Culloden, and treated it like as if it was a newscaster reporting on it. Brilliant. Punishment Park was set in America. People sent out to be hunted down for like, war protesters. Obviously a metaphor for Vietnam. I mean, Privilege is looking at the fakery of rock stars and how they're used as almost as a way to give society an impression of being rebellious, but they're not really being rebellious. Even the rebellious art's actually propaganda for the state. It's just giving them an outreach to feel as if they're rebelling, and how it's actually just another part of control. So, you know, really cynical stuff. Everyone mocked about a painter who doesn't fit in. I mean, these are brilliant, beautiful films, and the BFI and Masters Cinema have been trying to release them and trying to give a voice, show his voice again to the mainstream, but it's hard going because his films are so intelligent that you really need to engage with them to actually get the most from them. You have to actually pay attention and give it your all. The same way, I mean, in some ways he's probably one of the closest, him and the other one on this list are probably the closest to get up to my top list of anyone, because the films are so good. It's just the reason I went higher up into that other video was because I haven't watched them for a while, which is why I can never remember the titles, because I like watching films and not watch them, go back and watch them and get something from them again. I don't like to re-watch constantly, and his stuff's been out of circulation for a bit for me, but it's still terrific stuff. I'd really urge you to try and watch Peter Watkins. His films are amazing. Watch anything you can get of him, but I mean, you choose one, choose War Games. War Games will give you nightmares. You know, War Games will really disturb the hell out of you. And there's a 2 disc at the moment releasing War Games in Culloden, so I would recommend getting that. Like, as you watch this film, just go to your phone and buy it. It's worth it, trust me. Right, the final one is Bill Douglas. Bill Douglas made the Bill Douglas trilogy and Comrades. That's the only things you can get hold of, I think. So 3 films, the trilogy with 3 films of him growing up, starting as a kid, growing up, then going into the army. They're autobiography, but they're wonderfully made. Trying to explain them, I mean, I have to re-watch them to try and do a video, but I don't know how you do a video without just saying, explain the plots, and it's wonderful, because it's about life, and it's just about seeing his life as it goes on. They're made very low budget, they're very into detail. You need to really be paying attention to them. But at the same time, they're not like intellectually trying to be above it all. It's like how life's lived, but the detail, the way it's portrayed, requires your attention. They're not easy sets, but they're really worth it. They're really emotional, but not in an obvious way. And same with Comrades. Comrades is a lot of the trilogy is black and white. Comrades is in colour and is beautiful colour. It's about people who were striked against the basically the land barons who had them working for almost nothing and given them no rights, and they rebelled against and get sent to Australia. So the first half is set in England, showing you how hard a life they had, and the second half's in Australia, showing them trying to survive. And it's that idea about them coming back and fighting for their rights, but it's not in a way of, you know, an easy, like, everyone will be fine if you fight. It's much more like, this is difficult. If you fight, you're going to probably lose, and you may die, you may lose all your rights. And you're just going to go through hell just to get even, to get some basic rights. That's all you're only going to get. Now you have to stick together. And it's wonderful, it's really terrific. I really urge you to try and see this as well. It's a brilliant film. It was, obviously because it's called Comrades, it was, you know, it wasn't released very well in the 80s Britain. In Thatcher's Britain, probably the least popular title for a film was Comrades, since they were so anti-communist and so anti-socialist, you know. So this is a brilliant film. Even if you're not really into communism, which most of us aren't, because I'm not, but the film itself and what it's saying about people's rights is really worth seeing. So that's the list. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it wasn't just me listing saying, oh, this is wonderful, blah blah blah. I could go on about other directors like John Milius and stuff like that I really like. I like a lot of Christopher Nolan films, but there's some I don't. So there's lots of directors I could even go further down. But Milius should have known this. So Milius is the final one. His stuff's great. Big Wednesday's amazing. But I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back soon with another video. But I've on long enough in this one. Okay, bye.